Stan Gibilisco here from the black holes of Dakota Territory, United States of Advertising. Just a little note about pharmaceutical products, that is to say prescription medicines in the medical, I was going to say medical industrial racket, but that might sound a little provocative because it's certainly not an evil racket if it saves your life, which it has done for me on multiple occasions. But on a recent occasion, I made an interesting discovery, and it just has increased my jaundiced view of pharmaceutical products in general, other than those that are for life-saving purposes such as antibiotics, but even to some extent those. They go and they develop a drug, they develop a substance, usually distilled from plants in some way or another, that if you put into your body, it will cause a wide variety of effects. And one of those effects just happens to mitigate or eliminate symptoms of a problem that you have. In some cases, may even eliminate it entirely. For example, in the case of an antibiotic like, what do they call it, erythromycin, in the case of pneumonia, which saved my life in 1994, for example. However, there are also a number of other effects, and sometimes they are significant enough to be disturbing and possibly even outweigh the potential benefits. Examples include anti-anxiety medications, certain kinds of vitamins or supplements, certain kinds of things that you might take in order to get an effect like to reduce the excess accumulation of fluid in your body, all sorts of things. One of the effects that that drug has is the one you want. The other 8 or 10 are ones that you don't need, may not want, and may in fact cause significant harm. That's why when you hear these advertisements these days, you hear the drug presented and what it's supposed to do, and then 3/4 of the commercial is consumed by a litany of terrible things that might happen to you if you take this drug. Of course, they're required to do that if they want to protect themselves against liability, which in this society these days rots a rock. If you hurt somebody bad with your medication and they followed the instructions of their physician, chances are pretty doggone good that you're going to get sued, and maybe the physician too. So I was in the hospital in Deadwood, and I developed an amazing sudden accumulation of fluid in my body, and I had no reason why other than some drugs that they had begun to administer to me. And sure enough, when I stopped taking those drugs, after 3 or 4 days, that fluid disappeared. I don't really claim to know how harmful that situation was, but I looked like some sort of freaky space alien. The point of all this being that I think you need to approach, or I need to approach, and I shall in the future continue to approach, pharmaceutical products with a great deal of skepticism. Be very, very leery and very conservative about the administration of all of these substances. I grew up in Rochester, Minnesota, headquarters of the Mayo Clinic, and they were always conservative with that kind of thing. Way back in the 50s and 60s, they knew as much, I guess, about that phenomenon as we do today. God only knows what they know today. Lucky indeed are the people who live in that town. Stan Gibilisco, signing off for now with today's little opinionated rant, inviting, of course, all sorts of hysterical responses. Or maybe none at all. So long.